And the road trip that John mentioned, that we take off when we first get in our car, this Sally Lightning road trip, we go past this stupendous waterfall, looking up at our little Arroyo Bridge up there. So that bridge has been in place for a while. And then we also have covered queue structures for Radiator Springs racers. Here they are coming together. This is Stanley's Oasis. So we're going to build that. We're going to build the original Radiator Spring, and Roger will talk about all this in a minute. You pass underneath the track as you load and as you walk up the queue to the load area. And this is one of the bridges that we just recently got all the steel in.
There's two different bridges because you go under both parts of the track. And so we decided to do a sense of history. You can find this out on Route 66 where there's the older part, the alignment of the road, and then they kind of fixed it up and built a newer bridge next to it. You can still see the older bridge. And so we did. So this is kind of the newer bridge, and as you go next to it, the next one is it's going to be an older wooden bridge that has the other part of the track over it.
Here's
Look at this
some of
bank.
that track. You can see the two slots, how you'll be racing side by side, and the banks are what is going to get your attention. It really, once you take these banks, these turns, when you rode it last summer, it pushes you into the car. It's so exciting.
Yeah, the G-forces of this ride are really fun. And I mean, it starts giving you a vista. This is part of the scaffolding's pulled down with the paint, and you start to see how stunningly beautiful this land is.
Yeah, pretty views everywhere. And our last show scene is an area that we're calling tail light caverns. And here's one of the tail lights. We're starting to plaster up to them. As this show scene is under the most construction right now. Tail light caverns though is going to be just this beautiful, spectacular area where you come in and all these tail lights are glowing from classic cars.
And it's really neat because in the daytime, you'll be able to see a lot of the rock detail, and we're doing the chrome. It's kind of like mica, or sort of like shiny sort of minerals and stuff, and the lights are kind of glowing. And then at night, it's all dark, so you see the tail lights glowing. So it really will have a wonderful difference from day and night. So these rides, it's kind of like Thunder Mountain, where it seems like a different ride at night. And I think that Radiator Springs Racers is really getting out this nice quality of two different senses about it. Because I think what's fun in the daytime to be in the show building with all this, and when you take off, you go shooting through this tunnel and you're out. And it's like the bright light of the desert, Radiator Springs is done to, or the valley is going to it's going to be really bright, but at night it's going to have this gorgeous lighting all around the rock work, and it's going to have a really different feel from day and night.
So that's what we are today.
So Anaheim is a semi-arid place. Radiator Springs is in a desert. So a challenge for our team was turning Anaheim into a desert. And so now we'd like to turn it over to one of the unsung heroes of our project. You don't hear a lot from her, but we're going to give her a chance to speak to you today. I'd like to welcome Jennifer Mock, who's in charge of
the landscape is an integral part of creating immersive guest experiences of Carsland will be delivered. As we master planned the land, we saw we saw two districts emerging: the downtown Radiator Springs and the desert. In the town, we sought to look at the design of the front yard so they really express the character that owned it. First off, we have neighbors, Junkyard Jamboree, and everything here is crooked and rusty and bent, but we have a loose cluster of oaks and Indian rosewood and understory of plants with great names like winterfat and little bush, Mormon tea.
We wanted to just sort of add more shade into the land than the movie had. And so this was one of the challenges to sort of still, not all of a sudden make it feel like that it's, Greater Springs has been put into a different climate, but to have shade, but it still feel exactly like the sort of the southwest climate that the Greater Springs is in.
Some of the other, another front yard we played with was Sarge's. Sarge's is very crisp lawn, flat top shrubs, so we thought we could take it another level and add a tree. And you'll see in the inset picture, this is an olive that was salvaged from the Disneyland Hotel renovation. And currently Disneyland Horticulture is grooming it for its debut.
You get a military haircut.
Nice and sharp. In that study for placing shade trees, these didn't appear in the film, so we had to start looking at how would we visualize these. We played with artwork, we looked at 3D modeling, and we took actual images of specimens and photoshopped them into the model views. Very helpful. Flows is very stylish and swell, and we took Palm Springs as our inspiration for a very modern plant palette with Mexican blue palms, Palo Verde, desert spoon, blue agave, and silver torch cactus. Lots of texture. Luigi's doesn't really have a front yard, but we imagined its backyard to be an Italian garden tribute to tires. And here on the left is my inspiration image. The center image is the planters that are carved like tires, and they'll be alternately planted with olives and Italian cypress. We have I call them tire poodle topiary to now be featured in this garden. And now to build a desert in Anaheim, yes, we had a lot of research to do. The climate isn't quite desert, but we went through lists of Southwest desert natives, California natives, and similar species. And along the way to buying almost 500 trees and cactus specimens, you find yourself in some very interesting places. This is in northern LA County, so it's not too far, but it's an amazing collection of cactus and found art, amazing tool collection. And some of the folks that helped us, my tree broker on the left, some vendors who've been in the business for a long time, and everybody comes to this family for cactus. And somebody you may recognize on the right, made out of horseshoes. So you'll see the inset picture is Sally and Lightning going on their drive through Ornament Valley, and trying to find the right conifer was challenging, but we found one that looks pretty dead on.
Isn't that amazing?
So this is the start of the racers, which we call road trip. And our last marching order from John was to find a collection of curiosities for Stanley's Oasis. And we hope we're delivering that. Yeah.
So Pixar actually has a theme parks division, believe it or not, that works very closely with Imagineering. And this next gentleman has worked at Pixar for a long time. He's done all kinds of work for them. If you've seen Mike's New Car, he was the co-director of that. And I recommend you listen to the director's commentary on that. So when you go home, watch your DVDs. Most insightful commentary I've ever heard in my life. So you'll have to wait for that. But to tell us a little bit more about the audio animatronics and other aspects of Radiator Springs Racers, we have Roger Gould from Pixar Animation Studios.
Working with Imagineering is so fun because we have to do what John talks about as the goal for every one of our films. That our film should be so coherent, should be so believable that when you finish watching the movie, you believe that the characters in the world live beyond the boundaries of film. And that's what we're doing here. We get to literally bring the film out of their world and into our world. One of the challenges, this is true on every attraction we do, is figuring out where are we in time of the story. Because Cars is a world that evolves, and it has in Cars too. And so we said, well, when we're in Radiator Springs Racers, we want to be with the town, we want the feeling of the first film. Second film wasn't designed yet. We wanted to be in the first film, and so we wanted to see that Rusty's Lightning McQueen. And so we also wanted Doc to be our crew chief. And knowing that he's passed on by the second film, that placed us in what we call Cars 1.5. Out in the land, you're going to actually get to meet and greet with modern Lightning McQueen, Cars 2 Lightning McQueen, which is World Grand Prix styling. And so out in the land, we're in a post-Cars 2 world. Cars 2 world is going to continue to evolve and grow, and so that'll keep going as well. So what we had to do in so many places in the land and the attractive fair, well, how do we extend the world? Flo's a great place for food, but we found right away, well, we have seating, there's no room inside. So we actually ended up designing an expansion of Flo's, right? So there would be plenty of indoor room. And what was really great was John said, okay, that's fantastic. Wait, so that's at the end of the first movie, the town has revived, the Lightning has moved there, and they've got a lot of new customers, so sure, Flo would expand. In fact, these are pictures from the Cars 2 model, because I thought, well, let's put that in the Cars 2 movie, because that's in that same time period. So it was fun that the Imagineering design actually ended up in the film. Inside Flo's, well, what's her story? And so we created this fantastic story of, well, you probably didn't know, she was part of a girl group in the 50s and 60s, Flo Longboards. And there are a lot of great...
She was a true show car.
Yeah. And she had hit records, and gosh, maybe you get to see some of those album covers and some of those song titles, and it's really fantastic. We also knew that we needed to go in for Ramon and see Ramon at work, because in Radiator Springs Racers, as Don said, we can get a fresh paint job. So if you want to know who Ramon is, you just need to go to Clusa's shop. So we went down there for research, and it was fantastic. And he pointed out that he uses a green paint, which he didn't even really think much about, but he says there's a big market in South America where they see his show, and there's a big market for green paint. So we designed Ramon's shop, and we designed his control booth where he's actually going to control the system. And if you look on the back shelf, there's the green paint. So we designed this for Radiator Springs Racers, and then John worked in the scene in the film Cars 2 where you needed to see Ramon's shop, and so that same fantastic color system ended up in the movie, and it's so good. It's the best in the world. In fact, it's the World of Color custom paint system. Now, when you're going through Luigi's on your way to ride the flying tires, we wanted to populate that with all the memorabilia of his life and his story. So we have beautiful old photos of Uncle and Mama Topolino from Italy. He even has a personal blessing from the Pope. And so you're going to feel absolutely home when you're there. John always talks about research, and on the Cars film, they had gone out on Route 66 and said, that's great, we're going to build Carsland, you can go out on a road trip. So we contacted Michael Wallace, who literally wrote the book, Route 66, The Mother Road, that really led to modern kind of interest in Route 66. And we went out on a fantastic road trip, starting...
He also did the voice of the sheriff in Cars and Cars.
Oh my God, he has the most incredible voice.
He's a great storyteller.
Yeah, and so he's telling you about, this is the last brick that was laid here in 1942. But then also he's like, this is the last restroom before we go out. Everything's that voice is amazing. And every morning he would come up to me and say, are you frightened?
That was the bottom picture, because Michael was pointing something